Thank you very much. Thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share about climate from Malawi. So as already mentioned, I'm working with Trocare. And in my presentation, I will talk about Malawi just to have the context and what's happening about climate change, what we're doing, and then I will conclude. So Malawi is in Southeast Africa. As you can see, we don't have the sea. It's a landlocked country. With the gray area there is the lake, and the country is divided into three regions. The southern part in pink is the one mostly impacted by climate change. Our population, as you heard from the video, is over 20 million. And this population mainly depends on agriculture for livelihood. We grow our own food. So because climate change is affecting agriculture, it means the country is not progressing. So in terms of rainfall, our rainfall range, it's around 700 to 2,500 millimeters. This rainfall falls between November and April, but over the years, this has completely changed. Sometimes it starts late, like December. In some years, it would start in January, and this affects the food production. Like this year, just yesterday, we had rains. It's still unusual in October to have this kind of weather. And you see that rainfall, this amount, over the years, it's showing that in terms of the amount, it's pretty much the same, but it's how it's falling that has changed. On temperature, we are on course to a 2 degrees increase in temperature. And last year was warmer, 2023 was warmer by 0.7 degrees, and that's clearly captured in most of the research. Now, talking about the impacts, the main impacts of climate change are being felt in the food sector, water and energy. And of course, this is also my area of intervention. In terms of what, too much water, like flooding or heavy rains, it means there's waterlogging and fields are washed away. And that affects the food security of the country. When there is a dry spell or a drought, it means, again, there will be no food. There will be shortage of food. This year, 2023-24 season, we had like six weeks of no rains. At some point, you have too much. So in the end, all this affects the food production cycle. In terms of energy, the energy sector in Malawi is also affected because of climate change, because we depend on hydropower as well, of course, for a small percentage of the population. And again, when people have no food, they resort to depletion of natural resources, cutting down trees and making wood, finding other means of getting money to buy food or for general livelihood. And this has a huge impact. So all these are impacts of climate change in Malawi. Poor health, loss of life, hunger, and mental health is one thing that is on the increase. About Cyclone Freddy, which maybe some of you have heard about, it heavily impacted Malawi. It was a storm of just 3 days, and that's the number of people who were affected. Over 600 died, and some were missing. Even those missing, it means they also passed away. Some were displaced, 659,000, and injured. All this was last year and within 3 days. And what are we doing about it? As government and NGOs, different sectors, we are not just sitting, doing something like mapping communal areas that are affected by hazards. So some areas are much more prone to hazards, others are not. So mapping them up and making interventions that can help. The picture in the middle there, it's a woman weaving a basket. So we help them to sell those baskets, connecting them to markets where they can make income. And the other picture there is an example of an energy saving wood. So you use wood for cooking and you use that cook stove that saves energy in order to protect our forests and trees. Agriculture intervention, we are doing different things. Like on a piece of land, 1 acre, we grow different crops. You grow cassava, sweet potatoes, maize, so many crops in the same field, so that in the event that there is a drought, some crops will survive. And in the event that there is a flooding, or some crops may still survive, like rice. And this is through agroecology approach. Apart from that, sometimes it's just heavy rainfall, which washes away topsoil. So we help communities to make compost and enrich the soils. And we also support interventions on planting grass, like what you see in the middle, a line of grass, which helps to trap moisture. So when there's little water, it's trapped and used for plant growth. On water, we support communities on access to water, drilling boreholes using solar pumps and fitting them for household use. So the systems can be big or small, like what you see on the picture. It can be for 10 households. Another one over there with the 4 tanks can be for like 1,000 people, different sizes. One key intervention which is critical is tree planting. So we are encouraging communities to plant trees. Sometimes they already have trees, and it's about caring and putting bylaws that will prevent people from cutting them down. This work is not easy because men have to carry water on their heads to water the seedlings. So, and even caring for the trees is not easy work. This is very important, as we know trees are acting as windbreakers and even for their own livelihood. So it's one most important interventions across all the areas you're working. I will share with you a video of Cyclone Freddy, just for you to have a picture of how this happened. Yeah, so that's how things were on 13 March last year. So this was a mudslide. This happened in 15 districts across the country. This picture here is just it's a hospital which was completely wiped out. In this hospital, over 21 kids who were admitted lost their lives, even health workers. And just to show you how the response was happening, when the cyclone hit, there were soldiers supporting to give food, but this didn't happen immediately, because when it happened, there was no accessibility, not even a helicopter would go there. And that's a boat trying to rescue some people. And even though we used the boats, this water, as you see, it's muddy, and there are crocodiles which attack people when they are trying to run to the shore. And that other picture is about the road. The road network was also affected. This is a road which connects the southern region and the northern region. It means as a country, we have to invest back in infrastructure, which is very costly. In my conclusion, I just wanted you to take a moment and reflect in wherever you are. If it's a house, imagine it's 10 by 10. I wanted you to just have this imagination. The wind speed was 180 kilometers per hour for Cyclone Freddy. And the water that came within 1 hour was 9,000 liters. So this is a reality. And it's happening in Malawi, which is which has one of the lowest carbon footprint. And just to give you the impression of the people we work with, we asked some of the communities who are affected by climate, like our understanding of climate change is that wealthier countries are the ones emitting most of the gases into the atmosphere, which is causing climate change. What is your ask to these countries? So people who are affected by climate, this is their response. We are grateful that you acknowledge that developed countries are causing climate change and that it's affecting us in the global south. We are doing everything possible to adapt to our new reality. If we are unable to grow our own food, we can expect you to feed us. In conclusion, the message from these people is that all of us as climate activists, wherever we are, we should acknowledge the reality that is with us. And we should do everything possible to adapt at our level, individuals, community, country, and also we should do our very best to support those who are affected by climate change. Thank you very much for listening. This is the end. Thanks very much.